Hello. So today I thought I'd actually talk more about a certain topic that not a lot of people. It's not a big, huge deal to everyone, but it'd be nice to eventually see. So what I'm talking about is is diversity in cultures in gaming. Um, Also, yes, we can. Well, I'm not talking about. I know there's a lot. It's a hot topic right now because of certain people on YouTube to include more females in gaming, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about more diversity in general. So that includes females, other races, and I'm not saying that mainstream developers should do this, but more. I wish the indie community rose up more and did this themselves, because that's the most feasible way that it could ever happen. Mainstream, I mean, games that Activision and EA make, they're trying to make a buck, and that makes sense. They're not gonna try to include. They're not gonna change the. If they know that white male um, people are buying their game, that's just the highest percentage, then fine, cool. I'm not gonna talk about that. What I wish for is that more indie developers from other countries, not America per se, but other countries themselves, actually made more games that maybe are more relevant to their culture and country. And I don't know a ton of indie games. I've tried to dabble in them and try to find good ones. I end up, I come to Braid and Bastion, the really popular indie games. I'm trying to look for the more subtle ones that maybe didn't get tons of news coverage. I know Papo and Yo, that Papo game, I think was made by a Brazilian developer. It didn't get the greatest ratings, but it was very interesting. He had a very interesting take on the game, and if you read into the backstory of it and why he made characters the way they are, it's really interesting. Um, so the reason I bring this up, it originally came to my knowledge. You know what? Forget that. It's kind of interesting. So when you have books, anyone can write a book, and a lot of companies publish books. If I lived in Peru, I can get a Peruvian book. That was, or a Spanish book in general. There's a lot of Spanish countries. I can read a lot of Spanish books. Maybe a Mexican book, an Argentinian book, and and maybe it's a history book or a non-fiction historical book, a non-fiction book that takes place in the past, and the problems in that book I can maybe understand because I live in the countries. And same for video games. Same for movies. A lot of countries make movies. Not all countries, but a lot do make their own video entertainment. You have Bollywood. You have Bollywood in India. You have anime and in Japan, and Korean dramas in Korea. China makes a lot of movies. Mexico makes a ton of novelas, which are Spanish soap operas. So every region, tons of different regions have their own thing. Britain has their own sitcoms. I don't know what Britain makes, but I know that they make their own content. And America does their own thing, and that's cool. If you don't like what America does, maybe you can do your own. You can watch your own thing. But I believe when it comes to video games, it's not exactly the same. Now, I really want to find out. That's my goal, is to go out and see if I missed indie games. That maybe Steam's a great platform on the computer to maybe look for some indie games that other developers from other countries make, and that's what I hope to find. It's find that a giant portion of the market is primarily Europe and the United States, and primarily they are very full of white people. And full of white problems and culture and history that has happened to those respective countries and regions. But maybe if I lived in Brazil, I don't care. It doesn't hit home to me. It doesn't connect in that way. I'm not talking about the color of your skin. Now that's a big big portion. Is not the color of your skin. A lot of people from Spanish countries are white, blonde hair, blue eye, like people from Argentina, for example. A lot of white hair, blue-eyed Argentinians that I'm friends with. But that's not what is more important is the culture and what's happening in the games. There's tons of games that are very specific, and maybe people just don't care, you know, and that's fine. For example, Resistance and the Resistance games, they take place in San Francisco, parts of Europe, and England, America, and 3, San Francisco, and they take place in countries that I really wouldn't care about if I saw destroyed, if I probably lived. It's like how when I play Call of Duty, and we're in a destroyed area, and it's just a random Middle East country that they don't even name, it doesn't really affect me. I'm like, oh, look at this destroyed place. Oh, this place is a mess. I can't believe people live here. This is what it's like over there. Whatever. I don't really care. It doesn't really affect me. When I play Resistance Fall of Man 3, and I get to New York, I think New York is in that game. Well, New York is in Crisis 2. When I get to New York in Crisis 2, I remember thinking, holy crap, what happened to this place? What is going on here? Like, oh my god, this is this street. Oh, like, this is... And it affects... And I think about, like, those damn bastards destroyed my city. How dare you? And those things don't care as much to other people, is what I mean. And there's so many other ways to... That's what I hope. People who make books in their own respective countries make books that are either mass appeal or maybe relative to their country. Japan is a huge... You know, a lot of reasons Japanese games don't work in America or other places is because they are very catered to their own respective audiences. And a small subsection of that audience is the otaku audience, which is why there's a lot of those weird dating sim games. They're not meant to be top sellers. They're made specifically for the Japanese otaku who love dating sims. And yes, people buy them in other countries, but the developers know they're not going to make a huge buck on that. But they're making it for their audience. Now, that's a terrible example but, you know, it would be nice, though, if other countries had indie developers that made games that their respective cultures and or regions can appreciate. Like, oh, this is a problem that happens in only our part of the world. You know, I met a lot of Indian developers when I was in San Francisco that were trying to make games. I don't know what happened to them, but that's the kind of stuff I really like to see. And, it's still recording. And I'd like to see that going forward. It's fine that we have big Hollywood budget video games, AAA, crazy games. Doesn't bother me. But I do wish there was extra padding on the side, and that's why I think Steam is awesome, because you can find so many great games on Steam, especially now with Steam Greenlight being in place. So, I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. Christmas time is coming closer. I think we're only 2 weeks away. It's December 10th. So, thanks for watching, and goodbye.